Agencies Drinking Beer is brought to you by Proposify, software that helps you deliver beautiful proposals in the cloud and close more deals.
Welcome to the 24th episode of Agencies Drinking Beer. On today's show, we're going to be interviewing our own Jennifer Faulkner, and we're going to be talking about working with friends. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Thanks
for being on.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. So you kind of feel a little slighted that you were a last minute guest, but I think I've wanted to have you on for a long time.
Wow, the flattery. No, I have never aspired to be on this podcast, although I am privileged to be asked. But I do feel a bit like
wreck
Ed
of a
McMahon.
podcast.
Well, and actually, it's a sober podcast so far.
It is, yeah. I'm drinking coffee. Kevin's under the weather. Kevin, you're pretty quiet there.
Yeah, I should have planned ahead. I could have had some cold and flu medicine that would have made me feel really good. Oh well.
So wow, what a couple of weeks we've had. So just to introduce you, Jen, you are the marketing manager for Proposify currently. Hopefully that doesn't change anytime soon.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I don't know why I said currently. But we've known each other for quite a while. Actually, Kevin and I have known you for 10 years maybe. Well, I've known you for 10 years.
Yeah,
Kevin,
we've known each other
less.
10 years, and then Kevin for like 8 maybe or something like that.
Around there, yeah.
Yeah, Kyle and I go way back to an agency that will remain unnamed, but back
it was
in the
a good
trenches.
agency.
It was.
Yeah.
We had a really good time, and I think it was. I don't know. Some of my lasting friendships that I have to this day started at that agency. So, yeah. And then we were torn apart when you went on to a new opportunity.
Yes, that's right.
Then reunited.
That's right. So Jen and I met at an agency. Jen was a manager. I actually called Jen upper management because I was cracking the whip. I was just a lowly designer. And then I left and went to another agency. That's where I met Kevin. And then you left and came and worked for that agency. And then I left, and then Kevin left, and then you left, right? Is that the order?
Yes. So basically what happened is Kyle left to pursue his own freelance business. And then Kevin and I were left clinging to each other for sanity at an agency we weren't very happy, and so the three musketeers, one of them left. Kevin and I tried to survive, and then it was Kevin and Kyle who convinced me to go freelance, and I had never really considered it because I liked a steady paycheck, and I liked working with the team and stuff, but they were like, what are you doing wasting your life here? Come waste your life out in the free world, and we're sure we can toss you some.
The agency owners listening to this are like, I hope none of my employees feel this way.
Well, that's a lesson to make sure you value your employees, because we tried everything to get at that particular agency to try and bring our own level of enthusiasm in.
Yeah, this was an agency that didn't, I don't think, valued its employees. They. I don't know. It always seemed like a pissing match, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just I always felt like they weren't interested in what we were bringing to the table from where we had been before. But
but didn't that agency owner invent the internet?
And Velcro.
It's been 8 years or something, and we're still just slagging them off.
I know.
That's fun.
It's a sport.
The great thing about it is it brought us all together. I went freelance for 6 years. We worked together a lot, because when you guys had Headspace, I worked with you guys at Headspace a lot. You were awesome. You hired me a lot. We went on some great road trips. We worked on some really good projects. We survived some crazy ass clients.
Oh yeah.
But the irony of it is, I love how you guys are the ones who convinced me to go freelance, And then somehow you tricked me back into leaving freelance and coming to work for you. I don't know how this works.
You got to stop listening to us.
I know.
We're always leading you astray.
I know. But I love the switch. It's great. But I was going to say, when Kyle and I worked together at the first agency where I was an account manager, and as he said, crack the whip, Kyle actually had a little rap.
Yeah, I'm not doing it, though. I'm not doing it.
That he made up about me, which I found funny. But now, in retrospect, I think maybe it was kind of insulting.
Well, I did refer to you as like mad as a wet hen or something.
Yeah, there was a wet hen reference.
But it
there.
rhymes with Jen. I was looking for, you got to use what you've got.
It was your
right?
delivery is that whenever you rapped it at me, you were smiling. So I'm like, oh, this is good natured.
It softened it.
But now I'm imagining what was going on in the design room when I wasn't there and how you rapped it. And maybe there were other things going on.
No, Jen, we liked you. We liked your bell. A lot of listeners don't know this about you, but it's one of your many quirks. As long as I've known you, you've
one
always
of my
had
many quirks.
Well, you're a bit quirky, a little eccentric, and you've got a bell that you ring when good things happen or funny jokes are made. You just have a bell that you ring, and you've had this for 10 years, and you brought one into the office here at Proposify, and it's still with you. It's still with us.
Yeah, the bell goes back a long, long time to when actually I was working in the Yukon for the Tourism Industry Association there, and I was selling ads for their tourism guide. And I don't remember how somehow this like delicate china bell showed up in the office. I don't remember why it was there. And every time I got an ad sale, I would ring this dainty little bell. So anyway, once I moved to Halifax and I was working at a place, and we were raising money, and so every time we got a big donation, I was ringing this bell. So when I left that place to go work for an agency, as a going away gift, they gave me, it's quite fancy. We have it here at Proposify. It's like an old school teacher's desk bell that's mounted on a piece of wood from the Blue Nose, which, if listeners don't know, is like Canada's famous sailing schooner, and it has a little plaque on it that says my name.
Wow.
So so when we worked together, I used to ring this bell if good things happened, somebody had a good idea, a great pun. I love ringing the bell for a great pun. So I brought it in to Proposify along with my framed picture of Queen Elizabeth.
It's one of my favorite sounds is your infectious laughter and then the bell ring in the middle. So it's like, ding.
So basically we can stop the podcast now because we're trying to add value. And the value add is get a bell for your agency. It will really change your lives.
It does help with the energy. Like I think now the whole team is into it. When something happens, they're like, oh, we got to ring the bell for that. And
it does.
Sometimes even a bell icon goes on Slack.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes, or a bell GIF.
Yes.
People are into the bell GIF. Like we just got a big annual plan yesterday, and even though Kevin and Kyle and I weren't in the office, we were, typing on Slack, ring the bell.
Yeah, exactly. Get a bell. That's a takeaway.
It's true. There's a business tip. Get a bell, and but you have to be a bit judicious with the bell.
It loses meaning if you ding it every 2 seconds.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, this coffee's good. Ding.
I don't want to limit people's ability to feel joy, but you can't just be.
Yeah, too much joy is bad.
Exactly.
Right? Too much of anything's a bad thing.
Exactly.
So, I remember when you started at Impact. I think that was your first agency. Oh, I said the name. I shouldn't have said the name. Oh well, they don't exist anymore. Great place. So when you started at this agency that I already said, that was your first agency job, right?
It was. So I came at the agency world from a strange direction. I actually majored in Spanish in university, and this is why it's always challenging when I find students come to me and they're like, tell me how you got into the agency world and how you got into business and what should I do? And it's like, I think I'm the wrong person to ask because I really thought I was going to save the world with Spanish somehow. But anyway, when
if you led a revolution, maybe.
What expects the Spanish Inquisition?
Yeah, maybe a marketing revolution in Spanish. That might have worked. But Yeah, when I worked in the Yukon in tourism, was mentored by the director of marketing there, and he really he made marketing really interesting to me. So when I decided I was going to move back to Nova Scotia, I had it in my mind I wanted to work for an agency, even though I didn't really know about it. I mean, this is before Mad Men was on TV and everybody knew what an agency was. I mean, nobody really knew what was going on. Or at least I had no idea what was going on. But I thought this is a good way to take the creative side and try and make a living from it. So it took a little while in Halifax, but to find a place. But when I started at Impact, I finally found a home, really, for the combination of my skills, I guess, or what I wanted to do and how I wanted to work. That was the other thing. I liked a lot of the culture of working in an agency.
The funny thing about like account management or project management, I shouldn't use the terms interchangeably because they are very different things, but like especially account management, that's one thing where there's no like training for it. There's no like school or course you take. If you're a designer, you go to design school. If you're a developer, you learn to code at university or whatever. But like, I don't know, every account manager I've ever worked with, they've either taken like journalism or PR, or sometimes, they're just good at organizing things and talking to people. And so I think, I don't know where I'm going with this, but like you...
I'll tell you what what trained me for this. If my brother were right here right now to guest star on this, maybe we can like phone a friend or something and ask him.
Right.
But he would tell you I was really bossy when I was a kid.
I don't believe it for a second, Jen. I don't believe it.
And very much like, bossy. And my boyfriend compares me to Lisa Simpson. So I think, I even have bumps on my head, actually, like Lisa Simpson.
That was pretty cool.
You do, yeah.
So anyway, I think that's part of it. I've always been organized and worried about getting things done properly. But that brings up an interesting point, because one of the things that has bothered me about the agency world is when you look at the division of labor. So you walk into the design office or the design room, and there's probably like 6 guys and maybe 1 girl, maybe 2. You walk out to the account management, it's all girls, right? Or women, I should say.
Little girls.
And I think, there could be some gender cultural reasons for that, where maybe women, there is some better attention to detail sometimes and some things, but it always kind of bothered me that was the division of labor, and there may be some reason for that, but I also found it's the same thing. You go to the industry awards here, who's up on the stage as the creative directors? Men. Yeah. Who's in the audience cheering them on, getting 0 recognition even though they help push it out the door? The women, right?
Yeah. Well,
not to get too.
No, it's fine. We can talk about this. It's a good topic.
It's one of my things.
I know. Well, you know, that's. I've always found design to be pretty split evenly comparatively. Like maybe not the bigger, the higher titles, creative directors and all that, art directors, but overall, like we know programming is very 95%. I would say.
Yeah, I can't think of a single. I mean, I know designers who build
developers.
websites, but yeah.
We had one at Headspace.
Right. Yeah,
and there was one at the other place that we worked, the really terrible place. So, I mean, they exist, but design's pretty split. Account management, I don't know why. That seems to be a very, very female-dominated thing. Because you're all bossy, I guess.
I don't know what it is, and it's not to say guys can be good account managers, and I know a lot of great women who are designers, but it's getting into those upper levels of creative. And then, then I moved over into more copywriting, which is mostly what my freelance work was. Although I started out doing both project management and copywriting once I went freelance. But account management, what sucks about it is sometimes I just felt like a professional stick poker, right? And nobody likes a stick poker because
it's a thankless job.
Yeah, and I either poke sticks at the designers or I had to poke sticks at the client, and nobody it was hard to keep everybody happy all the time. Balance the interests of the agency, because on one hand, your boss wants you to keep the client happy, but to keep the client happy, sometimes their interests conflicted with the interests actually of the agency. So it was always hard, and you were the middle person. So I know back in the day, I'm sure there were times, I know for sure, right, we would have been annoyed at each other, right? You would have thought, the designers would have thought I was being unreasonable, and I was in my office going, what the hell are those guys doing in there, or, whatever. And it just kind of gets...
That's why a few months ago we had Carl Sakas on, who talked about those 3 roles. And I think the problem with small agencies is that we think of account management as being all of those things. You're supposed to offer the client consulting on marketing and sell new clients and do some business development and manage projects and keep timelines and budgets and all that stuff. And that's kind of a lot to ask one person. Yeah. So he talked about the 3 roles and how if you have separate people doing them, it actually runs a lot smoother for exactly that reason. I always found as a designer, we didn't really respect the account manager's opinions as much, and maybe that is a problem. And designers can be a little bit elitist. I
No, for
go
sure.
out on a limb and say.
For sure, and I
it's
don't
like,
think
what do they know? They don't know anything. They're just there to keep the project going, right?
I can relate real quickly. When I got into the agency business, it instantly reminded me of the industry I was in for years, which was the restaurant industry, where you had the prima donna chef screaming at the waiter or waitress who's dealing with the client. Has no idea what the client, it was that communication. You had, of course, the manager trying to mediate, and it was very much like an agency.
Yeah, and especially when, what you were saying there, Kyle, I mean, definitely we felt that way sometimes. It's like, we're not just stick pokers, we're trying to be collaborative here, but sometimes what would happen is the agency owners would put the responsibility of the project being profitable on the account manager, right? The designers weren't being held accountable for that. So if the designers went over budget or something, it was on us. So that, and sometimes I feel like that wasn't always communicated well, and so there was a stake. It's like, well, on one hand, we're not supposed to be pushing them, but at the same time, somehow I'm responsible for making sure this project's profitable or gets out on time or whatever. And I think that is, when you talk about maybe not valuing their opinion or something, that comes down to the agency leadership not setting up those roles across the board. The other thing I think that happens, and I've seen this at a lot of companies, and it's not exclusive to agencies, is people get hired, and I always feel like when a new person joins a team of any company, there should be a little presentation where that person talks about what they're bringing to the table, because you don't necessarily know. Somebody new shows up, unless you know them, you don't know all the things that they've done in their past, what their skills are. You're like, okay, well, they're a designer or they're in sales, but you don't know what they've done. And if you don't know what they've done, then maybe you don't know you can't necessarily value what they can bring, or you don't assume, or you might not use their skills. And I always think there should be a little lunch and learn where they get up and just talk about what their background is, because that's actually an advantage to the business, because there may be some skills there that they're never going to use because nobody knows about them.
Yeah, it's kind of natural for us just to assume somebody we don't know, they're just a person. They don't know anything, and then oh, cool, you were in TV, you did you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Good idea.
Yeah.
You were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, going back to, let's face it, the account people do get thrown under the bus are the first ones. And I remember when our first account person we hired at Headspace was really surprised when Kyle actually didn't throw her under the bus and actually fired the client. And she was very taken by that. It's interesting.
Yeah, they were jerks. So,
and really, I was always uncomfortable about that divide between design or creative and accounts, because really it was better when we all worked together collaboratively, and it just sucked when that feeling was going on, and I understood why it was going on, but it just, I don't know.
From a
Let's be
client's,
friends.
Yeah, from a client's perspective too. Like if you're hiring an agency and the person you're dealing with, your account manager, maybe you don't see the creative team unless you're in presentations or something. Like the day-to-day person you talk to is your account manager. They better be a marketing expert. You're hiring an agency,
That's
and like
it.
that person doesn't know anything. All they do is relay messages back and forth. Like that's a pretty bad thing.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah, because recently I did some consulting with a small agency, and the account person's super junior. I mean, she's a smart person, but she's just inexperienced, so she really doesn't bring anything to the table. And there have been some situations where I know when she's been on her own, it would be her role to step up and talk about strategy a little bit. And if they need somebody else in the room to help with that. Otherwise, I think you're missing a big opportunity with the client.
So you left kind of the agency world when you went freelance. I mean, you still worked with agencies on a freelance basis.
I like to compare it to I prefer to be engaged than married.
Yes. But in addition to doing project management, account management, you also, I would almost go on a limb and say it's your true passion is writing.
Yep.
And so that's what a lot of your freelance was, correct? You were doing
So I did.
copywriting.
Yeah, I did a lot of account stuff because one, it paid the bills. But my true passion is writing, and that was one of the great things that I always loved writing as a kid, but I never, growing up where I did in a rural area, I didn't know. The only thing I thought you could do with writing was to be a teacher or to be an author, and even being an author just sounded like so blue sky. Like, what? Who's an author?
Cooped up in a cabin for a year, like typing on a typewriter.
Exactly. Like, I'm not Danielle Steele, so or Judy Blume. Who am I? For some reason, those are the two I picked.
Always with the older references, those dog-eared references.
Okay, I just want to ask listeners if people know what the term dog-eared means, because I put in my blog post yesterday, and ye old editor Kyle didn't know what it meant. Kevin, you must know what dog-eared means. What is going on?
Kevin doesn't know. See, Jen, you have some pretty strange out there references.
I've been accused of this before. My boyfriend thinks I talk like I'm from 1892, but I think it's just
Get
my
on
family.
the trolley here.
Anyway, when I got into the agency world and discovered, okay, this is where I could actually get paid to write, and so I really worked on honing my skills. And once I discovered and got the confidence, which you guys helped me with that for sure, that people would actually pay me to write, it was the most amazing, liberating thing. I just remember when I was 8, I was given this like little plastic typewriter, and I thought, here's my life in this plastic red and white typewriter, and I would bang out little stories about mice on this typewriter.
Did you have any of those stories?
No,
you can read?
I don't know. They might be in one of my parents' attic somewhere. But and the other thing that I loved was is branding, and so the combination of working with companies on helping them develop branding and true branding, not just like what a lot of companies think of logo or whatever, but actually developing what's that personality and how do you communicate it, and combining that with copywriting. I was just like, I found my thing, and I loved it. And we all, the three of us, have worked on a lot of projects together. Yeah.
I had a similar thing with, because I always liked to draw when I was little, and I thought that the only way you could like be creative for a job was to be a cartoonist. Like you would have to have a comic strip in the newspaper.
Yeah.
So when I found graphic design, I was like, oh, cool, that's an actual way to make money and get a job off of.
Yeah, like who knew?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is cool.
It is, because I mean, I feel really privileged to have found that, because so many people never find their thing that makes them happy, whether it's work or not. It's just you don't find it, and once you do, it's like, oh my God, someone's gonna pay me to do this. Wow, okay, I'll sit around and labor over a sentence for an hour.
Yeah. How has it been, and be honest, from working, like doing service work for clients to doing marketing and writing, like in-house at a company. So doing like one thing all the time versus, working on different client
comparing
work.
from here to
Yeah,
Proposify,
agency world to Proposify.
Well, it was interesting because when I first, so I started at Proposify in July, I guess, and I had done work for you guys before, did some writing and stuff, but it was interesting because I remember the first few weeks, I felt a sense of panic all the time because I thought I had to achieve the job of marketing manager like within 2 weeks because I was so used to working on a project by project basis, with my freelance work, which most things was like, okay, I got to do this in a week, do this in a week, or whatever it was. And then I realized, like, okay, no, this is a long game. I mean, there's stuff within that to get done, but it's not like I have to achieve the role of marketing manager in the next 2 weeks.
And you aren't being built out.
Yes, you
hourly.
did. Wouldn't you say that you didn't?
I know that makes it sound like I don't mean I have to do any work, but that's not what I mean. But
there's a learning curve for sure. Like,
Yeah.
because I don't think that most client work, nothing we did at Headspace involved, I think, the kind of marketing we do at Proposify.
No, that's true. And the other, it's what I like about this role is it allows me to use the skills I have and do the things I love with enough space for learning that just, kind of takes me slightly out of my comfort zone. And I think that's always a good sign because who wants to just be boring doing the same thing all the time, right? So then you can see that growth. And I also really like the opportunity because lots of times with client work, even with repeat clients or ongoing clients, you only get to work on like one piece of the pie often, right? And there's lots of times I think, oh, they're letting me develop their values or something like that. But if only I could do X, Y, Z on top of it, it would really make it more impactful, but maybe that part of the project wasn't available or something. So that's what I like about here is being able to look at it from the long view, tactical, but also strategic, and really, I guess, work on the whole pie rather than just like on little pieces of it.
It's because the model's different. We're not selling time, in a sense. We are selling a product.
Yeah.
That's the big difference.
But our product too, it's not an iPhone. It's not. I'd say it's kind of sexy, I guess, for proposal software. But like, classic advertising mindset is you're taking 5 generic products that are competing with each other and making one of them not generic.
Yeah.
Even though it does the exact same thing as the other products here, giving it that brand, that story, that personality, so it stands out at least in the mind of the buyer. Is it the same thing working on a product that's somewhat inherently unsexy and utilitarian in nature, where it's not a glossy iPhone or gold watch or something like that?
I think you flatter me too much about assuming the kind of clients that I've had over the years. I never had Apple or Rolex, just for the record. I've had dry cleaners and insurance companies and
they're the worst, aren't they?
surveyors. But you know what? What I kind of liked about using the dry cleaner as an example, which, you tell people, because people always want to know, oh, yeah, tell me about your clients, anybody I know, right? And they want you to
Procter
say,
& Gamble?
Yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken or something. Yes, I invented the double down or whatever that greasy sandwich is called.
You
Are we gonna
killed
get
like
sued?
100,000 people with that breaded chicken.
Whatever.
gun. The dirty bird.
11 herbs and spices. But what you, again, using an example of a dry cleaner, I worked on this project for a dry cleaning franchise, family owned in New York State. And what was great about that is you could actually see the difference because nobody's doing any fun advertising or marketing in dry cleaning, but this was a really forward-thinking client, and we got to do some super fun stuff with them, like doing a mail out about carpet cleaning and we did a close up of the carpet fibers and said, I have dirty secrets, like, stuff like that. I mean, it's just kind of fun instead of, think of all the little flyers you get in your mail for carpet cleaners, right? Or whatever. We did a thing on moths and had a sweater screaming "Save me" as if it was being attacked with these bugs on it. Anyway, it's just the thing about that was fun is you could actually see the difference and make a difference, as opposed to some big, what people would call sexy clients. They're always doing cool stuff, so it's hard to sometimes see the bar move. So I always found it. What I do love about my freelancing career and the other agencies that I've been contracted out through, I've just worked with such a gamut of companies and services. I'm really good at cocktail party small talk because I can talk about tilt-up construction and dry cleaning and proposal software. That is one thing that I kind of miss from the agency world was the fact that you got, especially if you were designing something. If you did your job, I guess you're going in and doing research on the company and learning about how a construction company works at the business level, and that's something that was always pretty exciting as a designer, was always getting to learn about new businesses, new industries, and you don't get that as much now. I don't. No, and I think the other thing is that it's an advantage to companies to have people come in blind like that, because we're not coming in with any assumptions, right? You've got your head in the same thing all the time. It's hard to have some perspective on how you're being perceived. And so to have a designer, or a copywriter, or strategist, or whatever who's learning about your company from the ground up. Yes, there's something to be said for having some understanding of the industry, but sometimes it's really advantageous to have fresh set of eyes on everything. It almost seems like you should have a bit of both, because I think when you don't know an industry very well, and I've embarrassed myself in front of clients because I'm like, the solution's so obvious, just do this. And they're like, no.
Or they've tried
doesn't
it.
work.
Yep.
Everyone's tried that. That's stupid for this reason. You're like, well, now I just sound like an idiot, right? Yeah. So I think... I think a balance for sure. I mean, you have to do your research and... Yeah, I mean, the agencies, I think that we talk about this a lot, like that specialize in an industry and know it inside and out. I mean, they probably at the end of the day bring more value to their clients than ones that are just coming in totally fresh, not knowing it. But at the same time, they might get more. They might be less creative because they're pigeonholed in terms of like, we know everything that's been done, so we can't think outside. This is the way we've always done it. I think that fresh perspective oftentimes too is the younger, less experienced members of the team, regardless of what role they're in, account management, design, because I remember my first job at a publication company here in Halifax where we were doing like tour planners and travel guides and stuff, and I was so young. I was like 20, I think, and I was just coming in with these like wacky ideas that were probably terrible, like it's a golf magazine, it should be like a plaid background or whatever, like just stupid shit, right? But nobody, you know what I mean? When you're that young, you're so keen to just like try everything, or you haven't thought about this. So I think that maybe that's a good reason why I think agencies should have a good balance between like older, more seasoned members and very young people, more than just the fact that they're cheap, we'll get young juniors in, right? Yeah. No, I agree, because sometimes they can just shake things up, and that balance of here's the established experience, but here's a fresh perspective on it is really important, no matter who you are and what you're working on. So
I think that's why we were balanced well. Yeah.
Who?
You and I in the agency.
Yeah.
Because I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, and I've had a lot of experience in different industries, and then you brought that whole other side to it, the creative side, younger perspective. Yeah. It worked well. Yeah.
Dream team over there.
Now I'm a crusty old man.
30 now. Yeah, he's crusty, all right.
That's what the agency world did to me. It turned me into a cynical...
Krusty the Clown.
What? Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
I gotta get voices in. And I appreciated your earlier Simpsons reference. You know I love the Simpsons references.
I know. I feel like I need to, instead of do some industry research every night, I should just be catching up on 20 years of Simpson episodes because this office is insane.
9 years of Simpsons episode. The first 9 seasons, that's all you need. After that, they're garbage. But the first 9 totally changed television.
Okay, well...
Ingenious.
Because I can't believe how pretty much not a day goes by here at Proposify where someone does not make a Simpsons reference, obscure Simpsons reference. Or sometimes it's obscure to me, but...
There's even been clips in our podcasts with some Simpsons.
Yeah, that's true. But they're always from the first 9 seasons.
I have
That's
seen
when the gold was.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, well, that'll be my homework.
There you go.
I'll
Work on
take
that.
Not marketing, but Simpsons references. So, but just back to your question about the transition to, from being a lone wolf.
You love all these, like, I'm a hired gun, a lone wolf, like...
I know, it makes me so much tougher and rougher
like
than I actually
Texas
am.
Ranger.
Texas Ranger. I know, like the first day I strolled into Proposify with my holster and my picture Queen Elizabeth.
You travel the world just like assassinating princes, I think.
But I will say the transition's been a lot easier because I mean, really, coming to work with you guys was not that much of a tough decision. I mean, I loved working freelance because I've been really lucky. For the most part, I've worked with my friends. I mean, somehow when we worked at that first agency together, so many of those people have branched off and started their own gigs, or somehow through them, knowing them and other people, I've just ended up working with friends, which has made a big difference in my career happiness. Because, I mean, I just feel like at this point in my life, I want to work with people who do good work and aren't assholes. And that's not always an easy thing to find,
It shouldn't
right?
be that much to ask for, but sometimes it is,
But
right?
sometimes it is. I just want to trust that people know how to do good work, and they're going to be good people. But I mean, we all have our days. But and that's why coming to work with you guys, aside from been excited about what you're doing with Proposify and what the opportunity was, is I knew I was going to come work with people who aren't assholes. For the most part. Kyle.
Kevin's way worse than me. Kevin's way worse.
But he's never written a rap about me
Rodney,
being a mad wet hen.
Oh, come on. I was 20. Some people
I'm
were
just
like
kidding.
putting
Don't tell
their
me.
pork in pork. You heard about that, right? UK politician. They found out when he was younger, he put his penis inside a dead pig.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to tell me a story about guys we used to work with. Yes, I just heard this.
Porkade.
Disgusting.
Did you hear
Oh,
that?
yeah. I agreed. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. But, come to work for
Where did
people.
that come from?
Because we were talking about you do stupid shit when you're young.
Oh, we all do.
You know.
I still do. We all still do. I'm
still
kidding.
young.
But it was like yesterday. Who did the talk? The guy from Inkling, and he said you hire for values. I think that was one of the
Right.
things he talked about. And I mean, we all talk about you hire for passion and you hire for personality and stuff, but it's also hiring for values. And I knew from working with you guys before, we share a lot of the same values just in terms of work-life balance and being good people. I mean, when we've worked with difficult clients before, there's never been any question about, like, if somebody really crossed the line, we were going to cut them off at the knees, right? It wasn't like, no, we're going to just keep letting them.
Yeah. So yesterday there was an event we all went to that you alluded to. It was called Startup Empire. So it was here. And I was on a panel in the afternoon, so I was sitting with a few other people, and they were talking about sales. I don't even know why I was there, because we don't even really have a sales team or anything like that. We don't do a lot of direct sales. But Thomas, somebody there, said, never hire friends.
Right. Yeah. And then you looked directly at me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Because I was like, why? I think that's one of the best things you can do. With the caveat that you're not just hiring your stoner buddy.
I'm so wasted.
To hang out with them all day. They
Exactly.
actually do
And that's
something.
it. I generally, when I hire people to work with me, when I've been freelance, it's always been friends I hired. I mean, they made the point that you got to still be okay to fire your friend, which you didn't look directly at me when they said that, so I kind of felt okay. Took a drink of water.
Well,
but
the thing is, if they're a friend and they would know it's not working out long before you have to fire them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you were hating what you were doing and you weren't executing and all that stuff, you would come to us anyway, like anybody would,
and we would
like,
know it wasn't working out,
It
or
circles
something.
all the way back to what you were saying too about how when an account person starts, that the team should get to know them and have that meeting. See, the nice thing when you have a friend, you already know their capabilities, what they're about.
Yeah.
It's pretty seamless.
Plus, that whole firing argument is falls down anyway, because even if you're not friends when you hire them, you'll usually become friends over the course
Exactly.
of working
It's
with
still
them.
going to suck no matter what. Like, it sucks.
It's like
firing
saying,
people.
don't ever go on dates because you might have to break up one day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do anything
that?
in life?
Yeah.
It might end.
Because I like to your point, I've liked that I can trust my friends who I work with. And it was the same thing. You guys knew what you were getting with me. And I didn't have to have that feeling, when you first start a new job of like, okay, I got to really prove myself. I mean, obviously I want to do well in this job, but it wasn't like, I better show these guys that I know what I'm talking about every day. I didn't have to do that. And you trust that I'm going to do what I need to do. And I trust that you guys are going to do what you need to do. But I mean, I think there's something to be said. Maybe you hire a friend the first time. And this is something that somebody said to me once, because I felt like, because most of my freelance business, I didn't have to go out. I was really lucky in cold call. I got most of my work through personal referrals. And, somebody will refer you maybe the first time. But what really showed the success is that people kept referring me or kept hiring me. And that felt really good. It's like, okay, maybe they called me because we knew each other and worked together years ago. But they're not going to keep calling me.
Like
That's
one of
the case.
our greatest resources is Ricky, and I mean, that's a prime example. A friend of yours, Kyle, our first hire at Headspace, and now we've hired him again for this company. And we just know what we're getting.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can also be a little more honest with your friend, too. You don't have to, sugarcoat things as much. You can be like,
That's
it
it.
doesn't work, or no, I don't like your idea. And you can say the same to me, right? Like,
Or I don't like what you're wearing,
I like what everyone's wearing today. Jen, you have the brightest pink sweater that I think I've ever seen in my life. It's like
first of all, it's a
Crayola.
blazer.
Okay, it's a blazer. Sorry.
Get it right.
I'm
That's
sorry.
It is. It's kind of crossing guard orange, would you say? Or it
It's
reminds
not orange.
me.
It's pink. It's
It
fluorescent
is
pink.
almost
All right, I'll
orange,
let
though.
your designer.
Borderline orange.
I think Crayola. This color is in the Crayola neon pack. But I was telling the guys at work this morning that when I walked to work, every car stopped when I crossed the street. So
They were blinded.
I think they thought I was like an official or something like that. So
Yeah, I like it. It's
thanks, man.
good. Well, it's been fun having you on the show. I hope you do it again. And
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Proposify. I love all of it. And
everyone's
I'm
like,
just,
suck up. That's what the listeners are saying.
no, but seriously, I mean, it's super awesome because we're friends. Like, I've seen the progression and watch what's happened, and the most awesome thing is watching stuff happen with your friends and watching their hard work pay off. I mean, of course, it's not over.
Yeah.
We've got world domination
Mountains
on our
left
to-do
to
list.
climb.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
big time.
But it's exciting, and
But we're not in holy crap, we're gonna die tomorrow if we don't.
That wasn't
Hustle,
too long
right?
ago, though.
It wasn't too long ago.
If
We're
so,
out
you
of the woods that way.
totally misled me when you hired me because the steady paycheck was pretty much the carrot to my donkey.
Yeah. On that note, let's end this donkey show. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be
Thanks.
back next week.
You can be